Hey guys, Claire here. In today's video, we're going to talk about all things Harry and Meghan. The opening ceremonies for the 2025 Invictus Games in Vancouver will be held at the BC Place Stadium next February. Event organizers have pledged to bring Invictus Games founder Prince Harry to Surrey that week for a tour of the Legion Veterans Village. News about Prince Harry's possible visit to Surrey was met with applause at the Surrey Board of Trade luncheon, where the CEO of the 2025 Games, Scott Moore, drummed up even more support for the upcoming Games. During Harry and Meghan's trip to Nigeria, we found out about the upcoming Invictus Center for the Wounded Veterans. This week, we got a better idea of the scale of the upcoming project.
Olympic-sized indoor swimming area, which has the bleachers that goes out for some of the other outdoor activities such as the archery, tennis.
Prince William was spotted dancing at the Taylor Swift tour in London, and a lot of people online have been having conversations about that. Some chuckling about his dance moves, and of course, royal fans were praising the prince. Now, a lot of people, though, were making comparisons to the way Prince William is being written about by the tabloids and talked about by royal fans in comparison to the multitude of negative conversations that were thrown at Harry and Meghan when they were having a good time at the Beyonce concert. Of course, royal commentator Richard Eden had to add Prince Harry's name into the mix. And this is another thing. Someone commented under Eden's tweet saying, "How sad is it that you simply cannot have a tweet about William? Why do you have to add Harry into the mix? Doesn't William's name alone bring in the clicks?" Somebody went further still, showing screenshots of the engagement of tweets that's just about particular members of the royal family. And screenshots of tweets that has Harry and Meghan's name in the mix. And, well, surprise, surprise, the tweets with Harry and Meghan's name, with Harry and Meghan's photos, all have higher engagement numbers. So this is what it's all about. I think that a lot of them are pissed off because Harry challenges them, talks about them in the book, also takes them to court. But they can't stop talking about Harry because it makes them money. The TikTok user who shared so many of those wonderful videos of Harry and Meghan having a blast at the Beyonce concert came onto TikTok to clear the air and give his 2 cents on the matter, calling out the British press and their hypocrisy.
I'm sorry, but what did I just read? Prince William danced, smiled, and loved Taylor Swift gig unlike brothers gloom at Beyonce concert? Is the UK still trying to spin this story that Harry didn't have a good time at the Beyonce concert? What in the fake news? I'm starting to think that really hurt him because it's been months now. How are you still running this story? And the video that they posted? Girl, are they just gonna pretend this video doesn't exist? And if they still want to say they weren't having a good time, here's some unseen footage.
Okay, now.
I don't know about you, but it's clear the LA Royals have them panini pressed.
There was a photo of William, the children, Taylor, and her boyfriend, footballer Travis Kelce. Soon after, on X, there was a video of Travis and his brother, former football star Jason Kelce, on their podcast. And his older brother, Jason, is not down with the monarchy. Had some choice words, or a choice word, about kings. Basically saying, in America, we don't do that. So forget about the kings. Travis, seemingly a little uncomfortable. Perhaps he already knew who he would probably meet with at his girlfriend's concert. So he said, I'm not going to say that about the kings, but yeah, we're not into it.
So I'm out on honoring kings because listen, we're Americans. We don't do royalty. So kings, but I wouldn't mind Kylie kneeling at my feet. You know what I mean? It's Father's Day.
Not kings, but just not into it.
So I guess the Kelce household is not into the monarchy. Much like a growing number of people around the globe and in the UK. There's been a lot of articles talking about the declining deference and support for Britain's monarchy, not just in the UK, but globally as well. So, yeah. Maybe this is why the palace and the press continue, or I should say maybe the palace continues to sort of poke at this Harry and Meghan versus the firm narrative, because that's the most interesting thing that keeps the family's name in the papers. And if it's one thing we've noticed about the British royals, is that PR, press dominance and popularity above all else is the most important thing to them. You would think that would be their philanthropic work, but no, they seek out and are almost pathologically obsessed with popularity, maintaining their space in the news, constantly being talked about. So if they continue to have this, one-sided feud, have Harry and Meghan cast as the villain and them as the good guy, that's an ongoing saga. They can always pull something out of it to make sure that they're plastered on the front pages. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Let's dive into this. A couple of things about this image. The PR offensive continues. This is the second photo allegedly taken by Catherine for William on his birthday. Obviously, the previous one was for Father's Day. If there's one thing I've learned about the 50 years I've been on this planet, is that when PR is offensive to this degree, and by offensive I don't mean it insults people, I mean it's an orchestrated push-out campaign trying to convey a message. When that orchestrated campaign is so gushing along these lines, generally the opposite of what's being said is true. It seems to me to be total overload to have that ricochet of images in such a short timeline, but what do I know? Also about this image, I would say the context of it looks a bit odd. Jumping off sand dunes is fun, loads in Norfolk, loads in Wales. I think this photo seems to suggest that they've jumped from behind the greenery. The greenery is absolutely huge, you wouldn't be able to do that, you'd have to jump in front of it. Also, some of the feet on here, particularly Charlotte's feet and George's feet, look absolutely huge. In fact, even bigger than William's. So I would say that there's been some AI trickery on that photograph, maybe to stretch it, maybe to make it look as though they're higher jumping than they actually are. It's a good photo. What do you think? Is the PR offensive, not insulting, the amount of PR coming out, telling us what we want to hear or what Kensington Palace want us to believe?
For the past few weeks, we've talked about the articles insinuating that King Charles, the poor grandpapa, just wants to have a relationship with his grandchildren. Personally, I don't think that Charles cares one way or another. I don't think he wants to have a relationship with them. If he did, then he would have made it happen. He is the king of the United Kingdom. Okay? He's a billionaire. He can do it. What's that saying? If he wanted to, he would. Yeah. Same thing applies here. Personally, I think this strategy or these slew of stories comes with two objectives. This is the palace recognizing that even the little cancer scare is not enough to humanize Charles. And there's still a lot of people who are side-eyeing him and his lack of relationship with his grandchildren that has the, what did that royal correspondent call it? Exotic DNA? Yeah. So the palace is saying, no, you guys have it wrong. He wants to have a relationship with the kids. He wishes Harry would meet him halfway. And he is just so sad about it. Nobody's buying that nonsense, but, they gotta try. Also, I think, but the main objective is from the British press, who are just fiending for a photo, a video access to Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. And without that, they're getting antsy about it. So we've had weeks of articles about Grandpapa Charles, and now the other one wants to come in and join in on the fun. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he say that his last interview about Meghan would be that Australian 60-minute interview? But here he is once again. Judging from the comments in X under that tweet, a lot of people are of the mindset that Meghan is in the right to go no contact. I saw his name trending on Twitter, so I decided to click on it. And under it was a slew of tweets, of screenshots of articles, of videos, of a lot of people saying, you know, sir, we're not buying that. Your lack of access, these are the consequences of your actions. The no contact that you're experiencing, you did that, and you continue to do the same thing that she has told you to not do. Please stop giving interviews about me and my family. And what does he do? Continue to give interviews about her and her family. Insanity. And personally, I think that he, much like Charles, genuinely does not give a damn about those children. Not really. Access to them is beneficial to both grandfathers. One possibly would like to get a photo, and we'll touch on that, because I can't imagine how much someone would get paid to get full photos of those children. I know the amount would be astronomical, right? And the other wants to use them for PR purposes. So what do you guys think? And while reading one of the articles from the Mirror about this latest interview, it expressly says, you know, he'd love to get a phone call, he'd love to have some sort of access to them, and at the very least a photo. Am I the only one who's thinking that that photo would somehow fetch a pretty penny and possibly end up being leaked like that letter? Wouldn't be a stretch to imagine. There are people even sharing videos of that interview that he did. Was it Sunrise, Australia? Talking about the people that he was working with or in cahoots with, and the objective was to cause problems with the wedding. There are people showing screenshots of interviews that his former wife did, cautioning Meghan against having Archie being exposed to him. So yeah, do you guys think that both grandpapas truly want a relationship with their grandchildren, or each has their own agendas? And someone even mentioned the fact that the other grandchildren, he doesn't have a relationship with them. Not really. So it's interesting, the only two grandchildren that he seems insistent on trying to have access to. I'm telling you, a family like that, you don't need enemies. And let's not forget the restraining order that is still ongoing. I believe it's supposed to be ending sometime in September of this year. A restraining order that was issued against him by Jeff Rayner. And this is the same person that they had that little YouTube channel. And the entire premise of it was to spill the tea about Harry and Meghan in a very disparaging way. That lets you know the company that he was willing to keep. A lot of the interviews you've seen him do over the years are by people who make money and take pleasure out of dehumanizing his daughter and peddling conspiracy theories about the grandchildren. You got the Piers and Dan and this one, Rayner. But yeah, how dare she not have contact with me and give me permission or access to the grandchildren? Give it a rest.
You know, I thought we left Thomas Markle behind. I thought we left him in the past, but apparently not. Thomas Markle's birthday is in a few weeks, and he will be turning 80. And apparently Meghan is the one that he wants to hear from on his birthday. I know Samantha is somewhere sliding down the wall, throwing up, because she's like, what about me, Dad? What about me? And then, you know, Thomas Markle Jr. is probably somewhere on YouTube mocking his sister in blackface. He wants people to feel sorry for him because he sees no hope of a reconciliation with his daughter. But it's like, why would anybody feel sorry for you when said daughter told you years ago that in order for you guys to reconcile, you need to stop talking to the press? And what did you do? You kept talking to the press because getting paid was worth more than your relationship with your daughter. You can't bully someone and harass someone into having a relationship with you, especially when you were plotting on ruining their wedding. And I have that clip right now.
And of course the photographs were a setup. I was set up by a guy named Jeff Rayner and another guy named Dylan Howard, who was with American Media, I think. And the whole thing was a plan to actually mess up the wedding. I was just part of it.
It's been reported by Sky News. According to Buckingham Palace, Princess Anne is in hospital after sustaining minor injuries and a concussion following an incident at the Park Estate. 2024 just doesn't seem to be a very good year for the British royals. Wishing Princess Anne a speedy recovery. Lord knows that she carries the burden of most of the royal engagements in that family.
Breaking news, they're saying that 73-year-old sister of King Charles III, which we all know is Princess Anne, has been hospitalized as precautionary measure. It goes on to say Princess Anne sustains minor injuries and concussion in an incident, Buckingham Palace says. Anne is one of the hardest working members of the royal family, having stepped in and taken more duties in light of King Charles's cancer diagnosis. This was from 8:15 a.m. this morning, Eastern Standard Time, I do believe. It goes on to say, Buckingham Palace says that Princess Anne has sustained minor injuries and concussion following an incident on the Gatcombe Park Estate on Sunday. The 73-year-old sister of King Charles III has been hospitalized as a precautionary measure for an observation and is expected to make a full recovery. The king has been kept closely informed and joins the whole royal family in sending his fondest love and well wishes to the princess for a speedy recovery, the palace said in a statement on Monday. We all know that, whenever you fall when you get older, it is extremely dangerous. There's all kinds of things that can happen. So we wish Princess Anne the best health and hopefully a very speedy recovery. It says that the royal family had a particularly noteworthy year of the medical issues. Both Kate and Princess of Wales and King Charles have been diagnosed with cancer. Neither royal has disclosed the particular of the cancer they are facing. Both have stepped somewhat away from the public duties as they battle the disease. But again, this is not about Kate nor Charles. We hope and wish that Princess Anne has a speedy recovery. Alrighty then.
In recent videos, we've been talking about Will Lewis and his tenure at the Washington Post, all of the scandals surrounding Lewis and his activities while working under the Rupert Murdoch umbrella, and how it relates to Prince Harry's ongoing court cases. Well, it's been revealed that the editor tapped to lead the Washington Post will not be taking the job. Rob Winnett, who has his own set of scandals, will stay at the Daily Telegraph in the UK after reports raised questions about his ties to unethical news gathering practices. Thank the Lord. Let's see if Will Lewis and the other transplants will be sent back packing to whence they came. In an election year, ethical media is so important, and I just don't feel like Will and his buddies will be able to do that. There was this hilarious cartoon that I saw on X, which pretty much sums up how I feel about Lewis and the set of editors that he is attempting to bring over to the Washington Post.
It seems our calls for proof of life were heard, because yesterday, after evident reluctance and months of equivocation, Princess Catherine showed up in public. This time, for the first time in nearly 6 months, there could really be no doubt. I promised I'd crack a bottle of champagne if they gave us proof of life, and here we are. Don't come at me with your crazy clone theories. There's no way a 5-month-old, fully grown being could walk in those heels, let alone have the trust of her children. This had to be Kate. Which begs a series of bothersome questions. What were they thinking? Who signed off on Catherine going into seclusion for almost 6 months? And why was the no photo updates policy allowed when they know full well how damaging no news can be? How closely were they monitoring social media alarm, and how much did it affect the timing of her reappearance? Who, if anyone, masterminded this ham-fisted strategy for managing a serious illness in a key member of a depleted team of active royals? And why did no media pick up on the rupture of hallowed tradition and the blatant breach of 21st century communications expectations and question it? When it comes to the royal family, is the Fourth Estate completely subdued in Britain? I don't have the answers to any of these questions, only the temerity to raise them. But with trust in the monarchy running low and Charles's slimmed down outfit looking rather emaciated, unlike Catherine who looked thin but otherwise radiant, they must have been expecting this long game to cause controversy. Maybe that was the intention. Maybe when it began they thought, yeah, let's run with this. All publicity is good publicity. They should know better. Because Catherine already had a reputation for being work-shy, doing fewer royal duties than other senior royals. Her role as a royal mother might justify that, despite the nanny and servants. But more importantly, this looks to me, observing through heavily mediated sources from the other side of the planet, like the second time Catherine has failed to understand the constitutional impact of her personal choices and actions. Kate was in a unique position to support Meghan's integration into the family. Once accepted by Queen Elizabeth, it was essential from a constitutional point of view. This family's liaisons are iconic, emblematic and diplomatic. Kate represented modern Britain. Meghan represented the Anglo-American alliance and, through her African roots, the Commonwealth. Perhaps she did just seize on her illness as a chance to have a few months away from the constant broadcast scrutiny. But like I suggested in the very first video in this series, you would think a monthly update wouldn't be too taxing. It's not like she'd have to write or post it herself, just allow herself to be photographed. The number of people who commented on my posts with variants of "she dead" must have reached the thousands. People just could not imagine how a senior British royal could avoid public view for so long and still be alive. But we're still left with a bunch of questions about the royal family's diminishing role in public life. Who's making unacknowledged changes to strict royal commitment and authentication protocols and why? Who's keeping an eye on all that? And just how accountable are the Windsors for their extraordinary privilege?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, hit that notification bell.